Hi everyone, this is Yana and I'm back with another video tutorial featuring Spellbinders dies. Today I'd like to focus on the new 6x6 card creator dies as well as Label 1 dies from Spellbinders. Now in case you're not familiar with Spellbinders card creator line, this is a fantastic group of dies that are designed to work specifically with standard size cards. There are card creator dies for A2 cards, which are 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, which is about 11 by 14 centimeters. For 5 by 7 cards, which are 5 by 7 inches or 13 by 18 centimeters. And 6 by 6 cards, which are 6 by 6 inches or 15 by 15 centimeters. I'll be sharing a 6 by 6 card in this video, but I also have lots of other card making videos featuring other card creator dies from Spellbinders, so be sure to check them out if you like. So here's a look at the die set that I will be using today. This one is called Labels 1 Card Front. It's a gorgeous die. Now there's also a similar die for 5 by 7 cards. It's called Great Effect. Now notice that built-in label inside that card front die. This one matches perfectly to the Spellbinders Labels 1 dies. I have this set here on the left, and all of those dies have the exact same shape as the label on the card front die. This allows you to build on top and create perfect layers for your projects. Now there's also one more card creator die that has the same Label 1 shaped built in. It's a Tudor Rose card front, and it's meant for smaller cards, for A2 cards. Another gorgeous die which can be used together with the Labels 1 set. You can see I have lots and lots more similar dies on my table, and all of these are meant to work with that basic Labels 1 design. You can most definitely use them on their own, but you can also combine them with that basic Label 1 shape for something little extra. My favorite one out of all of these is the Gold Labels 1 set. This one doesn't cut the shapes out, but it rather enhances the existing shapes by adding little die cuts, little embossed and debossed details. I'll be showing you some examples later in my video so you can understand better what exactly this die set does. Now I also love the Scalloped Labels one. Unfortunately, this particular set has been discontinued and it's no longer available. But if you do own it, you can combine it with a Labels one, or better yet, with a Gold Labels one for a beautiful one-of-a-kind look. Now this is not all. There's also a Decorative Labels 1 set which will work beautifully with the Labels 1 and also the Gold Labels 1. Next is the Majestic Labels 1, which also is a great set which kind of has some capabilities of the Gold Labels 1 set. Some of the dies from here not only enhance the inner cut edge, but also an outer edge. And one die from here also adds little die cut and embossed details. Now, one next set is Luscious Labels 1, another fantastic set to combine with your basic Labels 1. And finally, there's even a smaller set, an S2 set, called Fancy Label Tags 2. So imagine the possibilities that you have by simply mixing the dies from these sets. Lots and lots of different options, and lots of cards you can create by mixing and matching those dies together. Okay, let's start working on our today's project. I have my Labels 1 6 by 6 card front, and I'm going to tape these dies onto white cardstock and cut and emboss these in my grand caliber machine. Now this is a large die, so if you find it didn't cut all the way through the first time, make sure to run it through your machine again, but do rotate it on your cutting plate. I like to place mine at an angle and simply cut again. And this is what I actually really love about the Spellbinders Grand Caliber machine. I have a lot of room for my dies. I can rotate them on my cutting plate, no problem. Now make sure to also emboss this piece using the embossing sandwich in your machine. Now I do have to point out that it's best to use thicker cardstock for this kind of dies. If you use thinner card, it might tear under all of that embossing pressure. So my 6 by 6 die cut card front is nice and ready, and it looks just beautiful. I love all of that extra embossed detail there. I also have one more die cut like this, and you can see I've added some detail to the Label 1 shape inside. I used the gold Labels 1 die and simply embossed it inside this Label 1 card front die. I'm also going to add some detail to my other die cut, but for the sake of this video, I'll be using a different die as I want to share as many options here as I possibly can. So I've prepped some samples here as I was having kind of a hard time deciding which of the dies I wanted to use, and also because I promised you to show you some examples here. So here I have one using Fancy Labels 2, Fancy Label Tags 2, another one from the Luscious Labels 1, another sample from the Majestic Labels 1. I've combined this one with the, well, actually I didn't combine it with anything. I just used 2 dies from this set. And you can see I ended up having 2 beautiful pieces. One label with a die cut and embossed detail, and also a pretty negative piece with some detail as well. Now that larger die from the Majestic Labels 1 does a similar thing that a Gold Label 1 die does. You can see it up close here, so a similar but slightly different detail. I think I'm going to use this one to add detail to my Labels 1 card front. Now this die also cuts, but I don't want it to cut. I only want it to emboss. So I'm not even going to use my die cutting sandwich. I'm only going to use the embossing sandwich. And by doing so, I'll end up having even more detail from the edges that are used for cutting. I really hope that this makes sense to you. So here's the final result, a beautiful embossed detail on my Labels 1 card front. Here's the other one. You can see the difference between the two here. One was done using Gold Labels 1 and the other one using Majestic Labels 1. Now I need to add patterned paper to my card base. I created a 6x6 card base out of white cardstock, and I want to use pretty patterned papers from first edition to dress up the front of my card. I usually like to cover the entire front of my project using patterned paper, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to add some double-sided adhesive and adhere my patterned paper on top. I also want to die cut one more element for this project to have an extra layer. I'm going to use a basic Labels 1 die, a slightly smaller one, and also a matching Gold Labels 1 die, and cut those out of white cardstock. To add even more detail to this piece, I need to also emboss it in my machine. Now I got some dirt onto my die cut from all the die cutting and embossing, and this does happen to me from time to time. I need to get my plates washed to prevent this, but I just never seem to have the time to do that. So I'm going to use a special eraser, adhesive eraser from Teresa Collins. It's meant for removing temporary adhesive, but I have found that it works beautifully for cleaning my die cuts. Now I can layer the smaller piece on top of my Labels 1 card front and have not only a matching shape, but a beautifully embellished matching shape. I'm not sure if embellished is the best word to use here, but you do see all of that extra detail that I was able to create using Labels 1 companion dies. To finish this card, I also created a beautiful peony flower using Spellbinders Create a Flower dies. I made this one using Spellbinders Cotton Candy and Delightful Daisy cardstock, and this particular flower has 10 petals of each size, so I think it was 40 petals in total. I also created a video tutorial on how to make this peony. It should be up on the Spellbinders YouTube channel soon, so keep an eye out if you'd like to know how to make this flower. I'll also be posting that video to my channel as well. In the meantime, I'm going to grab a leaf die from this set and die cut a couple more leaves for my project. I'm using Spellbinders Luscious Lime cardstock to cut these out. I also need a simple sentiment for this card. I'm going to use a You Are Loved rubber wood mounted stamp from Hero Arts and Leah Griffith, and I'm going to stamp this sentiment in black ink from Alt New. No card of mine is ever created without some sort of foam adhesive and dimension, and the same goes for this project. I want to pop my Labels 1 card front up a bit using foam adhesive, and I'm actually going to use craft foam and the Label 1 die to die cut a piece of foam that has the same shape as the label. I'm using regular craft foam here, and I've added some double-sided tape to one side, and I'm going to cut it using my die in my machine just like I would cut paper. The foam is going to get squished just a little bit, but it will pop back up in a couple of minutes, so don't worry. And I'm just going to peel off the backing paper from the adhesive and add it onto the back side of my Labels 1 card front piece. I'm using pink craft foam simply because I do not have white on hand at the moment, and since I cut my shape slightly smaller than my card front element is, it's not going to be visible there and no one will ever see that it's pink. And even if someone does see it there, well, it's really pretty, you know, and it matches my card nicely, so I'm really not worried about it. Okay, I'm also going to use my tape runner and add adhesive to the other side of the craft foam to add it to my card base. And I've also added narrow strips of foam adhesive to the edges or the sides of this die cut. I used foam tape from Scrapbook Adhesives and cut it into 3 strips to make sure it would not be visible under the die cut. Now, the foam tape and the craft foam that I'm using today are of the same thickness, and it's actually very important to make sure that they are for a nice and clean look. So I'm also going to add that second die cut using foam tape, then add a sentiment and also a flower and a few green leaves to this card. As a one final touch, I added a bunch of little white pearls onto this project. I think those made it look even more elegant and even more feminine. Now, I created this video as a part of a blog hop that I organized together with my Ukrainian Spellbinders design team members to showcase card creator dies from Spellbinders. My friends created amazing projects using various card creator dies from Spellbinders, and if you'd like to check them out, I'll have links to their blogs in my video description. I'm not sure if they will have blog posts written in English, but you'll still be able to enjoy the beautiful photos and their beautiful examples. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you'll find it useful. All dies mentioned in this video are listed on my blog and also in the video description. If you have any questions, please let me know. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you know a fellow crafter that loves Spellbinders dies, I would really appreciate you sharing this video with that person. Thank you so much. See you soon. Bye.